You won't miraculously manifest money. You're not going to miraculously manifest the health or the partner. You're not just going to run into someone today. I've gone to the same Starbucks every morning. I'm not going to run into someone new there. I'm not going to suddenly make more money at my job. I'm not going to pray that my boss comes and gives me a raise. It's not going to happen. You have to be proactive. Majority of people are very, very reactive. They sit down and they wait for everything to happen and then they get lucky. Never happens. As a matter of fact, I'm willing to bet that if you are successful, you are unlucky. You went through so much shit and you were so unlucky, you just didn't stop. At least that's the case for me. If you talk to me about, oh wow, you get really lucky, I have yet to notice that pattern. I swear to God, I don't feel lucky. If there's a guy who gets pulled over, it's me. If there's someone who loses every possible thing you possibly want, like, oh, this is gonna break, everything looks like it's about to be perfect, some key player leaves my company. All of a sudden, there's some random thing. I saved a guy's life in Halloween 2020. Okay, I throw at a party, random people show up to my house, kick them out, they go outside, three people try to jump one guy, pulls out a knife, slashes one, cuts the other one's ear, stabs one in the chest, he's bleeding out, I save his life, I call the police, I call an ambulance, I literally stop the bleeding, he sues me, I have to give him $100K, right? Like, how unlucky can you be? I saved his life, saving his life cost me $100,000, right? At the end of the day, this is the level of how unlucky you can be. And guess what? I still don't care. But some people sit there and they go, it's not easy. I'm unlucky. Well, when you go to the gym, let me ask you guys a question. Are you sore if you've been to the gym consistently, or are you only sore if you just started? You just started. Everything in life is the same. When you build momentum, it gets easier. It's only hard at the beginning. So if you constantly remind yourself this one thing, I would write this down. It's a very good belief to have. It's only hard right now. If you understand that, everything continuously gets easier. And that's the truth. It's like a snowball. It only stops getting easy when you stop, because you suddenly made your life harder. So here's why that happens. Someone will now make more money. When you make more money, what else do? Do you just save all the money? You spend more, right? Common sense, I make more, I spend more. Well, if I spend more, I probably live in a nicer home, probably buy a nicer car, maybe I have a few more things, I hire a couple more employees, whatever. Now, my expenses went up. So if they were $10,000 a month, now maybe they're $20,000 a month. Well, I'm getting comfortable. I'm making 30, 40, 50, whatever. Let's just say you're making that. You get comfortable, and then now you're comfortable, you're not making that anymore. Suddenly your income starts going down. You lose a client or two or three, and now you're back down to where you were when you started at 10K a month or something. But your expenses are still at 20. Now you feel way more stressed and you're like, holy shit, this is really bad. But what happened is, you did all this work, you planted the seeds, you chilled, you were eating, you never planted anything new, and then you ended up where you started. You started going to the gym, you got over all the soreness, you stacked on the muscle, you changed your habits and routine, your metabolism got faster, you got lazy, you stopped, your muscle went away, your fat came back, and you're back at square one. Again, this is the typical pattern humans have. They reach a limit and then they stop. So how do we make it to where the change is permanent, the momentum is continuous, and it just becomes something that's normal? Progress should be normal. Every time someone sees you, if you go to a family reunion, you haven't seen a friend in a few months, you travel to another country to see your cousin, something happens, they should not recognize you. They should not be able to recognize your mindset, your lifestyle, your business. How is this person constantly improving? It's because you're constantly improving in your mind. So, the principle, the main principle of what I teach, and this is what I genuinely believe, I've seen it happen in thousands of people, I've done it for myself, and I've done it for everyone in between, is that if you change your belief system, if you can control your thoughts and your mindset, if you can control the feelings in your body, your emotions, you can control your life. It doesn't mean because I feel good I make more money, but I am sure as hell positive that if I feel really good, I am far more likely to print money than I am to sit there being like, oh, I feel anxious, no, I don't feel good, I don't want to talk to anybody. No one's gonna fucking work with you, I promise you. So, how do we do that? Some people don't have the confidence to be themselves, some people don't have the ability to connect, some people are just holding themselves back. Well, guess what? There's a way to literally hack your brain into instantly feeling more confident. And if you want me to teach you this hack, which I will, I want you to ask yourself this question. What is actual confidence? I call it true confidence. True confidence, unlike what most people project as confidence, is a feeling of deep comfort. You're very comfortable. Now, why is that important? Well, most people, when they feel any stress, they go into fight or flight. Now, fight or flight means you go towards the problem or you run away from it. How many people do you know that actually fight the problem? Very few. 1% of people will fight the problem. 99.9% of the time, if someone comes in with a gun, we're all running away. Maybe 1 out of 100 of you are going to go straight for the guy with the gun. Same thing happens on small scale. When you have a fight, when you have stress, when you have an insecurity, you run away from it. And every time you run away from the problem, you don't get better. And you waste time. So, the pattern here, when you're really confident, you get very comfortable running towards the person with the gun. You get really comfortable with your insecurity. Because at the end of the day, think about how much mental bandwidth we have. We only have so much we could focus on. And if you're constantly focusing on the problems you have, your stress, the lack of money, the lack of validation, how maybe people don't like you, maybe how you're not happy, when you're constantly focusing on that, you cannot focus on the things that get you the result. So if you want to win a championship, you got to only see the championship. If you want a better life, you got to only see a better life. It doesn't mean one day, but blah, 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 blah. Never. It's just dialing it in. But you cannot dial it in if you got shit covering your eyes. So, what I have always found is when you change your state, you feel better, you level up your mindset, everything that would have made you money, that was in front of you the entire time, appears. And the second it appears, your life changes. Here's a great example. Every time I've ever made more money, it wasn't because I met a new person, it wasn't because I had a new strategy or a new marketing funnel. It was simply because I got rid of an insecurity that was inside of my mind. Like, oh wow, this is really hard, no one's gonna pay me this amount, there's no way I could do that. And then something inside of me just changed, and I would confront those beliefs, and I'd say, that cannot be the case. This is not real. And as soon as I would say that, within not even a day, maybe sometimes a couple minutes, maybe a few hours, I made significantly more money. I'm not talking about a few $100, I'm talking about tens of thousands, in some cases $1 million in a day. I'll briefly tell you guys a story. In 2022, I had my pixel, which is the thing when you're running ads. A pixel is like what decides whether or not you get rich people or poor people, right? So you're running ads, the pixel goes, okay, I'm gonna show your ad to a bunch of rich people, or I'm gonna show your ad to a bunch of poor people. And the way it knows that is you've been running ads, you spent thousands of dollars, eventually millions, and then this guy paid, this guy didn't. So every time someone pays, suddenly it shows the ad to them again. Well, in 2022, my pixel got fucked up because I had an incompetent employee touch it. He's like, oh, I'm gonna do something. Disconnected it. For 4 weeks, we had shit ads constantly running, didn't figure it out. The second we figured it out, the pixel was long gone. You couldn't repair it. It had seen millions of people go through it that were wrong, and there was no way to recover it. I had to start over. To start over means I got to spend tens of thousands of dollars again to re-get all that data and figure out whether or not it's going to work, which took another 90 days. So I'm 4 months in, and I'm not making any money. Pretty much my lifestyle is costing me hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. And I'm at the point where I'm like, I'm literally down to the last few $1,000. And I remember I had around $2,000 left in my account. It's August 28, 2022. I thought there were 30 days in August, and I go, how am I gonna make payroll? How am I gonna pay everyone their commission? How am I gonna make my rent? How am I gonna pay my car payments? How am I gonna do any of this? I had no idea. So I said, fuck it. At the time I had a private chef. I had steak and lobster in the fridge, and I was with a date. I'm like, let's just go sit outside, fuck it. I just said, if I'm out of here in 2 days, and that's it, everything's going to shit, I'm just gonna go enjoy myself out by the pool. So this entire time, for 3 or 4 months, I'm feeling stressed out. I'm worried about money, I feel like shit, I can't have any clarity in my mind. And then I go sit down outside, my chef's making the last 2 steaks and lobsters, I'm sitting with this girl, and I said, fuck it, for now, this shit's paid for. Everything I have right now, I paid for. I'm gonna enjoy it. And I'm sitting there, and I'm in a good mood, and I'm in a good mood, and I'm just eating my fucking steak. Finally, I feel like, Stress just completely left my body. And I go, you idiot. You have a wait list for one-on-one clients. What the fuck are you doing? So I just open up the wait list. I'm like, Jack, send me the wait list. He's like, which one? I'm like, the one-on-one client wait list. He's like, oh my God, we're so dumb. He sends me the wait list. I call the first guy on it. His name's Ryan Carroll. I call him. I'm like, hey, what's up? Let's do a meeting tomorrow on Zoom. He's like, yes. Oh shit, you have a spot? I said, yeah, I got a spot. I get on Zoom with him. I close him for $1 million. He wires me $1 million. It lands on the 31st of August. Now I know there's 31 days in August. At the time, I didn't. So it lands on the 31st of August. Month 1, September for him, okay? Month 1. He does $1 million in sales, first month working with me. But I can tell you, what goes around comes around, both for him and for me. I tell you this because in my moment of that was my absolute low. Since I started my business, that was the worst it's ever got. I had like a couple grand left, which is really nothing for me. Would have lasted me maybe another day. And I was able to turn it around the second I let go of my stress. And I leaned into what I'm about to teach you, which made me feel extremely confident. So right now, everyone has a timeline in their mind. There's a blueprint that lives in your brain, and this blueprint is running your life. And for some of you, it is running your life into the ground. For some of you, it is making you feel incredible in some areas, but not in others. And for some of you, it's keeping you stuck. Now, this blueprint, everybody has. Let me explain to you how it works. Just get that out the way. So here's a timeline. This is you. This is you in 1 month. This is you in 1 year. 5, 10. In 1 month, you might see shit improving. I make more money, life's fine. In a year, you might see things kind of flattening out. In 5 years, maybe you think you're going to be fantastic. But deep down, this isn't what you think. It's what you unconsciously believe. Because we can all say, I'm positive. I'm positive I'm be fine. Deep down, one day I know it. But what happens is, if I say diet starts tomorrow, and this is tomorrow right here, guess what happens tomorrow? It's still tomorrow. Change happens when? It happens now. Change happens when? Now. When does change happen? Now. So if change happens right now, in the present moment, then I need to bring all those things that I see in the future into the moment. And that blueprint, I'll give you a fantastic example. How many people here have ever had a boyfriend or a girlfriend or dated someone, and at the beginning, wow, it is so good. You meet them, you're like, what is going on? It's just, you're on cloud 9, right? They call it the honeymoon phase. You're just on cloud 9. Well, because deep down, here's what happened. You had a blueprint, let's just say up until 1 year, or up until they engage or propose, or up until they tell you you're my boyfriend or girlfriend. Your blueprint to get them to like you was, I need to be my best self. I need to feel happy. I need to go get the flowers. I need to open the car door. I need to go make the bed for them. I need to cook for them. All that good stuff. That's at the beginning. You put in all this effort, suddenly something changes. The meaning, the definition, the blueprint changes. Do you want to marry me? Do you want to be my boyfriend or girlfriend? Do you want to be together? Something triggered a change in the blueprint. Now, you're not focused on getting them to want to be with you. You're focused on, how do I make sure this doesn't end? How do I get out of this? I feel trapped. How do I ruin this? So on and so forth. The blueprint changed. Now that the blueprint changed, what else changed? Your feelings. Feelings change, actions change. Suddenly, 1 year in, you've now changed. Relationships downhill. No therapist could fix it. No one's got it dialed in because nobody understands the simplest fucking thing, right? Is that the way you feel controls your perception and your behavior. So if I can control that one thing, I have complete control over my life. But most people can't control a few things. They can't control how they feel, and they have no control over the environment that makes them feel horrible. Because sometimes people around you, your family, your friends, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, even your kids, or your school, or anything, can make you feel horrible. So you've got to make sure that your environment is the right environment. You guys are in the right environment now. But if it doesn't stick, it goes away because you go back into feeling like you're in a bad mood. That's why if someone drinks or does drugs or smokes, you're putting yourself in a compromised state that continuously buries you in the ground. So you look at this blueprint, everybody has it. Same thing for money. Where do I see myself in a year? Where do I see myself in 10 years? Some people unconsciously see themselves in exactly the same spot. So Marcel, how do I know where I'm at? Where you are today is where you see yourself in 10 years. Where you are today is where you see yourself in 1 month. Where you are today is where you see yourself, period. Change happens in the present. The only thing that matters is the present. What you are at, your weight, your bank account, your lifestyle, where you are at right now, that is the only thing that matters. And the reason that's so fucking awesome for you is because guess when you could change it? Right now. And if you change it right now, how quickly can you get results? Right now. Now the problem most people think is it takes years to change. They think it takes a decade. It takes months, constantly rewiring their brain, a habit. I got to work on it over and over and over again. Bullshit. Change happens in a moment. There's a moment you woke up and said, I'm going to a seminar. There's a moment you woke up and said, I'm going to fucking work on myself. I'm going to sign up for the class. I'm going to invest in myself. There's a moment you said, I'm going to the next level. There's also a moment you said, I'm done with the gym. I'm done working on my business. I'm going to stay in my job. Every moment you make a decision is a moment that shapes your destiny. Sometimes you get unlucky. You're more likely to get unlucky than you are to get lucky. That's why you got to stack the deck in your favor. You got to do everything you can that maximizes the chance that you make the life you always wanted come true. And I'm telling you, everything was against me. Everything. When I started this, I didn't come for money. People think I came for money. My parents lost it all. We were fucking homeless. I had $5 a week in allowance when I started my job. $5 a week. I remember one week when I was 16, I borrowed $5 from a friend, knowing that I'd be in debt to him for the next week. And that was my gas money, and that was my food money, and I knew that I'd be in debt to him, and $5 goes nowhere. It didn't go anywhere 10 years ago. It still doesn't go anywhere now. Couldn't even get you a fucking footlong back then. They already raised the price. So, right, $5 is what I had. So I asked him, I said, hey, let me borrow $10 from you. And I took a girl to dinner. We went to Quiznos, the knockoff version of Subway. Okay? She has a fucking sandwich. She's like, do you want anything? I'm like, no, I'm not hungry, enjoy it. I was starving. Of course I was starving. I saved my fucking $5, right? I'm starving. And then she's like, oh, I don't want the second half, and throws it away. And I'm like, fuck. You know, I'm just looking at the food in the trash. And guess who picked her up for my date with her? The next guy. Took her to dinner. Took her home. I took her to dinner. Some other guy took her home. I'm 16. I'm like, fuck, dude. I spent fucking my last dime on some girl that's with someone else. And it's just a constant reminder, not only was I unlucky, I didn't have any resources. But I thought to myself, okay, it cannot be this way. There's no way I can't get the girl I want. There's no way I can't be more charismatic. There's no way I can't make money. But the way I was taught by my mom and my dad to make money was go be a doctor. Go be a doctor or a lawyer. My sister's an attorney now. Guess what? Attorneys are about to be fucking wiped out. That's not the point though. She spent, my entire time I spent building my company, she spent in law school. So, twin sister, same timeline, same background. She followed my parents' blueprint. She makes nowhere near what she makes in a year, I sometimes do in a day. Sometimes I do in half a day. I bring that up not as like, oh, look at my sister. It's she took the wrong blueprint. You could spend years doing something that pays way less than doing something that makes you way more. So if you're going to spend the time, might as well get the greatest result for the time you put in. Might as well not settle. Most people settle for a bad relationship. They settle for a bad job. They settle for being kind of fat. You know, I don't need a six-pack. I don't need to feel really energized. Why? Why not? Because the blueprint tells you not to. So if you're going to change, why would you change into someone small, into someone who kind of gets something? Well, I'll start at 10K a month. But why? If I started from scratch today, how long do you think it would take me to get back? A day. In one day, my first day, if I had no money, my first day, I'd be back at 100K in my bank account. My second day, I'd probably be at 300, 400. There's no way. Why? Because I understand it now. I have the knowledge, the mindset. Even if you took my Instagram, my brand, I was nobody. Put me as a nobody again, I will still make that. Because I have a different mindset. That's not who I am. Who you are is who you become. Who you become is who you are. So if you right now are not who you want to be, you will never become who you want to be. Now that sounds weird. But when I was 17, I was so confident with the thing I'm about to show you. I was so confident that I knew not only would I be successful, I would have everything I've ever dreamt of, except back then I couldn't dream of what I had. I just wanted a used Mercedes convertible. I didn't know you could have more than one car. I didn't know you could live in mansions and have the lifestyle. I didn't even know what the fuck anything beyond economy. I didn't know there was a business or first class. Nothing. I didn't know what a private jet, none of that existed in my brain. The pinnacle of luxury for me was being able to eat like Chipotle and order guac. Like imagine going to Chipotle, you can't even order a $2 guacamole because you're like, that's way too expensive, right? That's where I was at. So when you tell me, hey, I can't do it, I was there. I remember having to shower in the fucking park, and to flush the toilet, we'd go to garbage cans that we'd have our neighbors. We paid our neighbors to fill up our garbage cans with their hose. We'd take a bucket, and we go fucking flush the toilets with them before my parents lost the house. It smelled like shit in the fucking house all the time. It smelled like piss, not like shit, like piss, because that's when you'd flush the house. I couldn't shower, couldn't bring friends over. My mom would light up the house with candles. That's what I remember when they lost everything. Going from a mansion, I remember a 3-story mansion with an insane view. My dad had a car every week. Everyone loved us. I went from everything to nothing. So the feeling I had was, wow, this sucks, because I knew the difference. Up until then, I didn't know what money was. But here's what I could tell you. Money's easy to make. Getting the partner you want is easy to have. Making your life better is easy with the right programming. With the wrong programming, here's what it'll feel like. You will work super hard. You will fight yourself. You're going to grind it out, and you'll never get it. That's why some people, they want to get in shape. But the second there's a cheeseburger or there's a fucking milkshake in front of them, they eat it. But they know it's making them fat, but they cannot control themselves. I remember I had a bunch of people on stage. I was at my friend's mastermind. Cost $100,000 a year to be part of it. It's called the $100 Million Mastermind. And I had 14 people lined up on the stage. The minimum net worth you have to be part of this mastermind is $10 million. Everyone's lined up on the stage. I gave everyone a cup and a piece of paper. I said, look, anybody here who can put a piece of paper in that cup, they were all hypnotized. Anyone who could put that piece of paper in a cup will get $1 million wire right now. How many people you think cost me $1 million on that stage? 0. How many of them you think wanted $1 million? The easiest million of their life. How many? All of them. But they couldn't do it because their brain wasn't programmed for it. What you're programmed for, you get. It doesn't matter what willpower you have. Willpower is made up. It's made up. It doesn't matter if you have maximum willpower. You could have the most willpower of any human being. The second you're under my spell and I hypnotize you, and I tell you can't get out of your chair, you're not getting out of your chair. But guess what? I'm not the one who hypnotized you to be stuck. Someone else did. Your mom, your dad, your friends, your school, people making fun of you. They hypnotized you to be where you're at. And maybe you broke past some of the limits, but the chain still exists. If you go up to a horse who is used to being ridden on, and you wrap an imaginary thing around its neck, and you go like this, it will follow you. If you take a baby elephant and you put a small little fucking chain on it, which the second it grows up, if it just accidentally stumbles in one direction, breaks it in half, and you keep it grown with a chain that cannot contain it, it will never leave the chain. If you put fleas in a container and you don't let them jump beyond their thing, they could jump up to 3 feet, but you keep them in a 5-inch high or tall container, and they're just constantly hitting it. Eventually, you take them out, they'll never jump beyond that. This is how people's lives work. Their lives don't work in the way you think. Your mind works in this primitive fashion. What you believe is possible is what becomes possible. Now, there are 2 things I want to improve your relationship with, and all of this will tie into the theme today, which is to build up your confidence. The end result of the seminar is to get you to the point where you have true confidence. But there are 2 themes, 2 relationships that you need to have dialed in, or you will never reach your goals. The first relationship is the most important, which is why I'll start with it. Your relationship with time. Time is the most valuable thing, period. Let me give you some perspective. Who here has ever lost someone they love dearly? Lost a thing, a pet, somebody. Who hasn't yet? Well, God bless you. But imagine, someone you love the most, if you haven't yet, has a minute left to live with you. This morning, my mom called me, and I was like, what's going on? It's at 5 a.m. So I was sleeping all day trying to recover because I didn't have enough sleep for the seminar. She calls me and she goes, hey, your dad's in the hospital. I'm like, of course he is. Of course, on the day of my fucking seminar. I'm like, what's going on? She's like, well, his mouth's bleeding. He's on blood thinners. So his mouth's bleeding and it doesn't stop. So we want to go check and make sure everything's okay. Obviously, thank God everything was okay. But of course, I'm waiting for results. I'm not feeling good. I'm sitting there stressed out over it. I'm up. So I was up from 5 o'clock all the way to pretty much the morning. 9 o'clock, I had a haircut. I got a message at 9 o'clock. That he's okay. Now I got to go get a haircut. 11 o'clock, Alex arriving from the airport. Got to have a meeting with him. And then that's it. I didn't have time to sleep. So it fucked me up there. But guess what? Imagine I didn't get good news. How do you think I would have felt? Probably pretty bad. And there are other moments where you don't get a warning, where things happen and there is no fucking warning. It just happens. And for a lot of you who've lost someone, I promise you probably got that phone call or that message or that text and you didn't expect it and it hit you like a fucking train. And what hit you wasn't just the fact that you lost someone you loved. What hit you was that you won't get one thing with them, time. You no longer have time with them. But there's time for everyone right now. If you're alive and you're here, there is time for you to change. But every day that goes by, you have less time to change. There's less time for the person you care about to see the best version of you. There's less time for the person you love the most to notice that you were able to take all the pressure off of them so they don't have to get stressed. You know what causes the majority of fucking health problems? Bad habits. Bad habits that result from stress. It's lifestyle. So some people have to literally compromise their lifestyle because they cannot afford a better one. So if you cannot help the people you care about, cannot pay for them, you are being, at some level, selfish. If you don't change and you get into abundance, you are being selfish. But I'm here to help you with that. That's why we're here. So time is the most valuable thing in the world. If you were to lose someone you loved tomorrow, think about every moment you would spend with them if they were here. If you were looking at them, what would be different? How present would you be? How locked in would you be? It would be completely different. You're looking them in the eyes, and there's this moment. And I had a moment like this. I didn't know how quickly it happened, but I had a moment like this. I had 3 dogs. My first dog was named Da Vinci. Second was Picasso. Third was Mona Lisa. Da Vinci was 12 years old. Picasso was 2. Mona Lisa was 5. Da Vinci was my dog since 2nd grade. Well, for 5 days, he didn't eat. And I remember he wasn't eating. And at this time, I was really pushing it. I was leaving my house every day, all day. I was sleeping in a kitchen chair because we had bed bugs. No matter how many times my parents saved up for an exterminator to come, they would not die. The same day they'd leave, we were inhaling all these chemicals in the house, and yet the bed bugs would bite the fuck out of me all night. I have hundreds of things biting me. So I just decided, fuck it. I slept in a chair like the ones you're sitting in the kitchen. And I was like, I'll just settle for that, 4 hours a night. So I sleep in the kitchen, and you can imagine this is my parents doing better. My dad has had 10 heart surgeries. My mom's the one who's literally providing for the house. She never had to provide. Now she's providing for me, my mom, my sister, and my dad, and all our pets. She's paying the bills. So I'm like, I need to do something to help them out. I'm trying to take the pressure off them. I'm still in college now. I'm 18 years old. I had already done my first seminar, and now we're talking about September 30th, whatever the last day of September. Is it 31 days, 30 days? 30 days. So September 30th. September 30th, I come home at like 11 o'clock. I just leave my house every day just to go do work. So I'd go sit down at a cafe. It's called Crave Cafe. It was open 24/7 at the time. And I'd sit down on my laptop that I had for school, and I would just try and figure out what I'm going to do to make money. I knew what I was going to do. I just didn't know how I would do it. And I get home. This is day 5 of Da Vinci not eating. And I slept with my dogs in the kitchen. They're all small dogs. And I look at Da Vinci, and I'm petting him, and I brought him some chicken. I had at this time I was making at least $300-400 a month. So I bought some chicken, I had them chop it up, and I bring him this chicken, and I feed it to him, and he licks my hand, but he won't eat the chicken. And I'm aware now that he's probably gonna die. I just didn't know how soon, because it's now 5 days of him not eating anything. So I'm looking at him, and he's licking my hands, and he's uncomfortable. When I touch him, I could see him almost in pain. And it was really, at the time, I didn't want to accept the situation. So I was just telling him, he's going to be okay. I was almost lying to myself because I didn't want to confront what I'm looking at. I couldn't believe it. So I pet him till he fell asleep. He falls asleep. I didn't fall asleep on the kitchen chair. I fell asleep on the kitchen table, leaning down on it. I woke up at like 5:30, and he was by my feet, and he was already awake. He was looking at me. So I pet him, and he licks my hands. Picasso and Mona Lisa are still asleep, and I get up from the kitchen. I go to the bathroom to go brush my teeth. I start brushing my teeth, and I hear my mom scream. So I stop. I go outside. My dad ran to the kitchen before me. I'm like, Dad, what happened? He goes, your dog died. I go, what do you mean? I go, look. And there's Da Vinci in his piss on the floor, dead. And for the first time, I felt pain like I'd never felt before. And I look at my dad, and I see him tearing up, but trying to keep a serious face. My mom doesn't stop crying. And in that moment, the amount of pressure I felt for time was higher than I've never felt that much pressure in terms of time. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I felt complete loss of control. I felt like I had nothing, there was nothing I could do. I felt guilty. I was like, I couldn't take him to the vet because we couldn't afford a vet. And my dad brings out this garbage bag, and he says, here, let's put him in. I guess he wasn't really thinking, and he's like, well, we got to get rid of the dog. So the best way to get rid of the dog is the same way you get rid of trash. You just throw it away. So he gives me the dog in the garbage bag, and he tells me, go put him in the garbage. So I walk my dog to the garbage. I open it. I gently put him in there, looking at his face, and I'm seeing him just uncomfortable, but it's not even him, it's just a body. And I'm in my head, I'm thinking, I'm throwing away my dog. So I go inside, I don't say anything to my parents, but the belief and the feeling that happened here was a domino effect that changed the rest of my life. So I go in the bathroom, I throw up, I start crying, and I'm thinking, what can I do? And I decide I'm going to throw my second ever seminar, which was going to be November 17th. And I said, I'm going to be really good at hypnosis and be able to fill seminars. My first one had 7 people. I ended up having 40 people, and I learned how to speak, and I learned how to do hypnosis at a really, really high level in a few weeks. I got really good out of nowhere. It was October 1st when he died. And the lesson that I got from this was, why did I wait for my dog to die to take action? Why did I wait for things to get so bad before I made a change? Why didn't I change earlier? Why didn't I change early enough to have taken him to the vet and be able to pay a few $100s for the vet? And I started getting so mad at myself because I sat there thinking one day I'll change, nothing's bad right now, everything is fine. And then when it hit my face and I'm looking at my dead dog and I couldn't do anything about it, couldn't bring him back to life, I realized I could have prevented it if I had just worked a little bit harder and changed a little bit sooner. So now, I start working really fucking hard. At the end of my seminar, I start making $350 a week. I no longer have to rely on my parents. They don't have to give me any money. I was able to feed myself. Fast forward to January 27th, I leave. I let my dog Picasso and Mona Lisa out in the backyard. My friend Jason picks me up. He's like, let's go get sushi. I said, let's go get sushi. We get sushi, we sit down, he's chatting me up, we're talking, we're like, what do you want to do later? I'm like, I don't know, I kind of have to work. I'm about to order, the server just asked him, he placed his order, he asked for like 3 spicy tuna rolls and like 4 other things because he was eating like a fucking pig at the time. And it was my turn, and my dad calls me. So I see my phone ringing, and I answer the phone, I hear my mom crying in the background again, and I go, hello? And he goes, both your dogs are dead. I go, what do you mean? Again, like what the fuck does he mean? There's no way he just said that to me. And he goes, both your dogs are dead, they both got ran over, and he hung up. And in that moment, what was left of my feelings, what was left in terms of, okay, hey, you know, things will get better, out the window. I felt the worst I had ever felt to date in that moment. I turned pale. I couldn't even breathe. I went outside, couldn't stop crying, I couldn't breathe, and Jason's like, what happened? I'm like, take me home. I tell him what happened in the car, and I'm like, just don't say anything. I don't want to talk to you right now. I don't want to talk to anybody. I get out of the car. He's like, do you need anything? I said, not right now. What can you do for me, right? My dogs are dead. There's no way. So I was going to go into my house, and my parents had a screen door and a door. The screen door was closed, but the door was open. I hear my mom crying. I'm like, I'm not going to my house right now. So I walk in to my driveway. I decide I'm not going to go inside the house. My parents just cut down this massive tree, so there's logs all over my front yard. And I go sit down on one of the logs, and I look down, and Picasso and Mona Lisa's dead bodies are on the log. Their eyes are open. There's no blood, but they're dead. And you could see their face with tension. And I thought I was going to avoid it. I was trying to compartmentalize and just push the feelings away because it was overwhelming. And the second I saw them, it felt like I broke. It was the most brutal feeling I'd ever felt. It was like someone just took a knife and shoved it through my chest. And I'm looking at my dogs. I remember literally falling to my knees, and I'm crying over their bodies, and I'm kissing their dead bodies, and I'm telling them I'm sorry because I felt guilty. I'm the one who let them outside, and I don't know how. Someone must have opened the gate. Like, the gate had like 10 things covering it. There's no way they could have opened it. They're small dogs. And someone did end up opening the gate, but I didn't check, right? I was so in a rush to go get sushi, and this happened, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, why does this keep happening? Like, I'm trying to help my parents out. I'm trying to change my situation, and these bad things just keep happening to me. And after about an hour of feeling sorry for myself, I remembered an interview Tony Robbins had where he said he had a wait list for 6 months. People pay him $1,000 a session to get rid of any fear or phobia. And I said, I can do that. So I got up, I went in my house, I put on the only suit I own, and I left. I didn't say anything to my parents. And I walked up to every single person I saw. I went to cafes, I went to bars, I went out. I didn't care where the fuck I was. And I was on a mission. And my mission was, I'm going to not come home unless I make $40,000. Keep in mind, the most I was making here was $350 in a week. Maybe I get lucky $500 in a week, right? That was the most I was making. And over the course of a couple days, going up to every single bar, every single restaurant, cafe. I was up all night, dehydrated. I go to my car, I'd cry. I'd have Chipotle napkins stacked up like this. On one side, they're all used. On the other side, they're new because I was blowing my fucking nose. And I was exhausted. I had a migraine. And I remember I could not get one person to sign up. And I just locked in and I completely let go. The same way I did right when I made that $1 million I told you about. I just let go and I said, let me just get into a state where I'm not feeling so much pain. Let me just be in abundance. And I got in that state in my car. I remember I was just closing my eyes. I was meditating on it. I got out of my car and I look, and suddenly I noticed a Panera Bread, and I was scraping people. I was trying to find a random person in the middle of the night who's drunk, fucked up, obviously doesn't have any money. Obviously, they're not going to pay me. So it's like 7 a.m., and I get out of my car, parked at this parking lot where Chipotle's at, that I kept going back to get the napkins, and the Panera Bread next to it. And there's like 40 people at Panera Bread. I said, there's no way there's 40 people here. I literally felt like, wow, that must be a sign. And I walk up to them. I start connecting. I'm in a different mood. And I got like 8 or 9 or 10 people, I don't remember exactly, at the time, to pay me $1,000. They were all actors and writers. Some they're like, can you get rid of writer's block? I hypnotized someone in front of them, and I'm like, whenever you put your fingers together, you cry, you laugh, you do this, and they were all impressed. They're like, can you do this for me? Can you do that? And I started closing people for $1,000. I made like $7,000 or $10,000 there. And that gave me so much motivation. I'm like, holy shit, it's possible. And over the course of 2 days, I made $40K because of this pain. And then I got comfortable again. And when I got comfortable again, I didn't get back to that point until a year later, January, actually more than a year later, 2 years. January of 2020, I got to $23,000 a month in my business. February, I got to $25,000, and I was working my ass off. But the theme kept reoccurring. And there were 2 things that kept holding me down financially. Even though I got rid of it temporarily when I lost my dogs, I went back to not having much money and slowly building up. And then again, I built up. But what allowed me to go from 23K February 2020 to the next month 45, then back down to 30 because I chilled. Then I said, no, I'm not chilling anymore. Then 60, then 80, then 120, then 160, then 180. And I went all the way up to $300,000 a month in 2020 by the end of the year. What changed was the same thing that changed, that same change I want you guys to have now.